Hi everybody, it's Haley and I'm checking in for a Monday brain dump. So what's inspired this series is on Mondays, I go to work and I'm getting Olivia to school and I just have a billion different thoughts that run through my brain. And even though, I have all these steps to organize them between it, my whiteboard, Sales Pro, Outlook, my iPhone, just it's still mentally overwhelming. So it's going to be random topics. This is kind of what I'm thinking of. And hopefully you guys can share your experiences or any questions or tips that you have on the topic at hand for the day. And today's topic is going to be, drum roll, airlines. I'm just going to be talking about domestic travel, and hopefully in the future I'll be able to talk about international travel with some ideas that I have, hopefully within the next year, fingers crossed. Another video though. Okay, so I definitely have a preference when I travel. I try to fly Southwest. Most places that I go, a lot of experiences that I've had with Delta recently were kind of less than stellar. JetBlue is also great, but typically when I do travel for leisure, I'm usually traveling with my daughter. And the fact that they have free checked bags is fantastic because I'm usually having to help lug her stuff around everywhere. So it makes things really easy when I have to travel with her. So then when I travel for work, when it really doesn't matter, I usually still tend to fly Southwest so I can keep accumulating the miles so I can go somewhere with her. And thankfully, out of Rochester here, Southwest has a lot of direct flight itineraries to places I go, like Florida. I think they're direct to Orlando, Tampa from Rochester, but out of Buffalo, which is just literally like 45 minutes that way. They have direct flights to Fort Lauderdale, a couple other places, but it just kind of works out. The only, I think, crazy thing that I've ever really had to deal with on Southwest is when I flew to Kansas City in August this year. My flight was Rochester to Orlando, or Orlando to Kansas City, which was really, really awkward, but I've never encountered really bad personnel on Southwest, which I think helps. I mean, being in the hospitality industry, that's kind of a big deal for me. Same with JetBlue, never really encountered anything that was that crabby or anything like that, but free check bags are a huge bonus for me. I also tend to, especially if I'm traveling for work, I try to book my rental car through my Rapid Rewards for Southwest. Which company did I use? Alamo. They did a promo where you can get up to 3 or 4 times the amount of points. So normally you just get 600 base miles for using Alamo. Well, they had a promo for if you used 4 to 5 days, you would also get an additional 1,200 points, and then it was more if you did more than that, which is another way to keep accumulating your miles. I sometimes forget that I was very privileged growing up to have flown a lot and be able to speak about it. So I'm going to try to break it down for somebody that's possibly never traveled or somebody that's looking to travel. So the main difference between an airline like Southwest and the other ones is you don't pick your seat. You get assigned a boarding number when you check in. You can pay extra, which I think it's $12.50 each way for early bird check-in, which will check you in automatically, guarantee you probably like a very early A. They're boarding A1 through 60, if I recall correctly, B1 through 60, C1 through 60. So what that means is they'll tell all the A's to line up, and then there's poles that have different numbers. And, pretty much if you're A2, you're going to get second choice out of anybody on that plane and so forth. So that's the difference. Some people I know prefer to know which seat they're in. Me personally, I don't really care. I set my alarm 2 minutes before. It's going to be 24 hours prior to my flight. I check in, and I usually end up with a really, really good boarding position, definitely usually in the A's, sometimes early B's, which I've never had a problem getting a decent seat. And even if it was tight, places with my daughter, there were people that would more so move just so that we could have decent seats together. So that's not really important to me. So if that's not important to you, Southwest is a great option. Southwest usually gives you, with a kid, I know this is not important to other people, but Southwest normally gives you 2 snacks and a drink, which my daughter thinks is the greatest thing ever. JetBlue, I think they have like those blue potato chips, and you get your drinks and stuff. And I know that there's other like economy airlines that I haven't flown personally, like Allegiant and Spirit, that don't do the drinks or anything. It's just your basic flight, and they charge for luggage. They charge for, I think, bigger carry-ons, things of that nature. Then you have your old faithfuls like American Airlines, Delta, US Air, who have been in the industry a while, who have absorbed other airlines. Most of them charge for their bags, unless you have like their Premier credit card. Like I know my mom has the American Express through Delta, so she gets a free checked bag. But they do typically have a snack or a drink. But obviously with the bigger airlines, they have more options for flight itineraries versus Southwest and JetBlue. JetBlue does have the TVs in the seats, which I don't know if that's as big of a thing these days now that everybody has, not everybody, but most people have iPads and things of that nature. So there's that. Trying to think what some other good tips for you guys. Okay, I totally just blanked and I can't believe I didn't even think of this one, but your carry-on. Especially when I fly an airline like Southwest and I don't have a really quick turnaround, or really on any airline, I love checking my bags. I have flown, oh God, throughout my lifetime I have flown countless times. I mean, my family and I, sometimes we used to fly 3 or 4 times a year through my youth. So and then I travel a little bit now as an adult, obviously, but I hate carrying bags. So carry-on, I usually just pack like one of those little shoulder bags, and I don't even like bring my purse with me. I throw my actual purse in my checked bag, but I'll throw my wallet in this little side shoulder bag that I have, or you know, I have one for work and I have one for leisure when I cruise and stuff like that. So I'll just throw my ID and stuff in there, and normally in there I'll have my iPad, I'll have my phone, my charging cords, my wallet, a change of clothes, and then depending on where I'm going, like if I'm going to Florida or something like that, or if I'm cruising, I throw a swimsuit in there too. You know, God forbid something does happen, knock on wood somewhere, it hasn't, but and that's pretty much the gist of it. But I do pack my makeup because I do use Bare Minerals, and I don't want that getting broken because it's not cheap. So I'll pack that. I never pack shampoo or anything, even in the little bottles in my carry-on. I typically actually don't pack shampoo or conditioner. I will just buy it wherever I go, and I'll get a little bottle. And I know some people are like, oh, well, you can save more money if you... It's just less hassle, and then I usually will get rid of my extras and stuff like that before I fly back, because I hate having that kind of stuff open. So if I can minimize the amount of liquids in my bag, I do it 110%. All right, another tip and trick that I love. I don't do it as much when I travel by myself because I typically don't have that much laundry. But when I'm traveling with my daughter, I buy one of those cheap little pop-up hamper things from the Dollar Tree to keep dirty clothes at bay and organized. And it's fantastic because I always pack a little package of those Tide Pods, or I'll pick up the little 5-pack if there's like a Walmart nearby where I'm traveling, or a grocery store. And I'll do laundry because I absolutely hate coming back and doing 5 million pounds of laundry. Absolutely cannot stand it, because it's just, it seems like you're already hopping back into a ton of work when you come back from vacation. And I mean, it already stinks that you're going back to work after vacation. Why do you want to do 5 million pounds of laundry too? So if you can, that's one of my big things. Let's see here. And then I guess it's all going to depend if you go for business or leisure, but I'll break that down in another video because I'm getting off topic on the airline thing. But when I also travel, going through security checkpoints, I probably look like a big bum when I go through, because I see a bunch of other business people that travel and they're in their suits and stuff like that during the day, and thankfully I'm able to plan a lot of my travel so I have extra time, so if I do need to go somewhere, when I do get there I have time to go, you know, check in, shower, and freshen up a little bit. But man, I saw this lady this last time when I was going to Kansas, and she was wearing like heels. They had to be like this big, like huge heels, and I had yoga pants on and a t-shirt and flip-flops, and I was pretty comfy. But the big thing for me, flip-flops are huge because I hate having to like untie my shoes and stuff like that when you're going through security, because normally the TSA agents are really grumpy with people that take a bunch of time. And when I'm doing that with myself and my daughter, it's just, you know, traveling with a child isn't always the easiest thing, but so that's one of my tips. And even if I'm traveling in the winter, like when I go down to the Caribbean in the winter, I will bring flip-flops in the car, and right when I get pulled up to that door at the airport, I usually stay at a hotel the night before, or if somebody dropping me off, I'll slide my flip-flops right on and hop off there and keep them in the car, so when I come back, slide them right back on. Even if there's a little bit of snow, I'll suffer through it just for the ease and convenience of being able to go through the airport a little easier. So there's that one. What are my other favorites? My favorite airport that I've traveled to so far, I mean, I've done LAX, but that's kind of crazy. Honestly, and I think I'm a little biased here because it's Disney, I love Orlando. It's just like, even when I was just there on a layover, you know, I saw the little trams that go back and forth between the main terminal and then A and B, and you just know that Disney is not that far, so that's probably my favorite. And actually they've done some really neat updates to their food court area, since I obviously connected there, like I said, from Kansas City. They've done some really nice updates, and they have a lot of even very healthy, fresh, vegan, vegetarian options too, which was really nice. So that was cool. Alright, my least favorite airport, I know it's not fair with me saying this, was probably JFK, because the last time I was there, it was just a hot mess, and I was flying Delta to DC, and JFK was my layover, and they had so much construction going on, and I get it, there's construction, you need to update, you need to improve, I get it, but there's just people like sitting all over the floor, like it was just all over the floor. It was just insane. There were people everywhere, nothing was organized. It just seemed like mass mayhem. And side note, my story that kind of irritated me with Delta the last time I flew them, and that is the last time that I flew them, was I had their digital apps, and I love using digital apps for boarding passes, absolutely love it. I got from Rochester to JFK, okay, but then when I landed in JFK and turned my phone back on to double check my gate and stuff for the next flight, it said my boarding pass was unavailable. So, and I had a really quick turnaround, so I went over to the gate and I told them what happened, and they pointed me over to this kiosk. And they're like, you're gonna need to go print out a boarding pass at this kiosk. So I walk over to this kiosk, and I'm like 10, 12 people deep in line, because you have to know your confirmation number, so you see people fumbling around looking for that. So by the time I waited and was almost up there, they started boarding my flight to DC, and I was getting so upset, and I got up there and I plugged in my confirmation, went through all the prompts, then it goes, oh, you're too close to the departure of your flight, you need to go see a ticket agent. So I'm like starting to sweat, because they're getting ready to do like last call for my flight. Like, it was insane. So I finally get up there, and I get up to this ticket agent after waiting a couple people deep in line, and the ticket agent went to like take a phone call, and I was like, no. I'm like normally like really you know, understanding and stuff like that. I'm like, no, I need to get on that flight, I need a ticket now. And they were a little upset at me for being like that, and I don't yell either. I mean, I was just a little bit more like I was about to cry. But finally got my ticket and got on the flight. Both of my flights were kind of rough on landing and takeoff, even on the way home flying Delta. And I did have a stewardess that was on my last Delta flight when I connected DC to Atlanta, Atlanta to Rochester. So my Atlanta to Rochester, just some very grumpy flight attendants and stuff like that. And that kind of stuff I really don't get, and I don't excuse very much when I travel, because, you know, I've worked in the hotel industry on and off, and for the majority of the last 8 or 9 years now. And there's days that I have terrible days at work or at home, and I go to work and I have that on my mind. And I don't treat my guests like that. I mean, customer service, and I know people think because, you know, you may not need a doctorate or a master's degree or anything like that to work in it to start with. It's not easy. If you do not have the right type of personality or something like that, you can't hack it in that field. And plus, it just is bad for your company if you if you can't end up hacking it. So, but yeah, she definitely shouldn't have been in her position or her line of work. So there's that tidbit. Airlines nowadays are definitely not what they used to be. I remember traveling with my parents, and we flew Northwest a lot. And, you know, you would go and we'd fly to Florida, and you got a little box lunch that had a little deli sandwich in it and snacks, and like it was a whole different experience. My mom was like the master at getting us bumped so that we always had free tickets. She purposely booked during busy times so we get to the airport 2.5, 3 hours early and try to get on a bump list, which is still what you can do these days. I haven't seen it happen quite as much on Southwest and JetBlue. But I guess since Northwest got absorbed into Delta, you might have better luck with that. But I mean, that's how we flew a lot. But man, it's so different these days. And airfare's so expensive too. Like my flight from Rochester to Kansas City in August cost me over $600, which blows my mind, because then I'm going to be flying to Puerto Rico in January for, I think it's $340. I haven't exactly purchased it yet, but that's kind of what it's hovering around, is about $340. And it just kind of blows my mind the way that prices work, because I remember my mom booking round trip tickets on the expensive side for $150, and now you're paying this much with less inclusions, and I know fuel oil's up and all that jazz, but it's a whole different world and dilemma. And the thing that, you know, I keep going back to it that I like about Southwest is there's that extra comfort feeling that you have. Very friendly, you know, they have the cute little quirks and safety songs that you'll see go viral over Twitter and YouTube and stuff, and that's just something that I really enjoy about them. But I'm hoping, since this was a little bit more domestic travel focused, that next year I'm trying to aim to go to Europe. And I've seen through a couple bloggers that I follow, the Points Guy is one. If you haven't looked at his blog and you really will have a ton of questions about airfare, I highly suggest going to his blog. He did an article on WOW Air, which is an Icelandic airline that has really, really cheap flights to Europe out of New York. It's Newark technically, Boston. I think they just opened up Miami, DC, where some of the prices are. You can fly to Iceland for $250 round trip. Paris for $350 round trip, and it all depends on when you go, seasons and reasons. But that definitely caught my attention, and I know it's more of a, you know, economy-ish airline, so, you know, money for checked bags, you can't have a ginormous carry-on, food and drink is extra. But I think since I'm a little bit younger, I've been itching and dying to get to Europe, so I don't care. I would go there in a cardboard box at this point. So hopefully I'll be able to touch on that a little bit more. But if you guys have any questions, definitely down in the comments, or you can go over to my blog, which is doitwithaflair.com, or you can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Periscope. And I think that's about it for today. And I think I'm going to take a survey here. If everybody wants to put it in the comments, are you a window seat, middle seat? I have yet to meet anybody that's a middle seat person, but I'm sure they're out there. or an aisle seat person. I am personally a window seat. I love taking pictures. I love staring out the window. Totally my thing, but let me know what you are down in the comments down below. Bear with me, I'm sorry. Just bear with me. I'm definitely getting the swing of recording this way. I have a new camera, well, new to me, but I'm trying to get more comfortable with doing stuff like this. I have no problem talking to people. I do it all day, but this is a little different. I want to make sure it looks nice. So if you have any suggestions or tips, I'd love to hear them. If not, have a great day and safe travels.